Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to Week of Hibs, sponsored by Leaf Spirits. Mai.
Hello, I'm still Colin.
And I don't know the German for I'm still John.
Oh, was that quite seamless? Because we just
Aye,
kind
it
of
was
rolled
like
straight
that.
into it.
We should get like a wee bit.
Listen to Richard Gordon.
We should get a wee bit like telly test card music, like just in that wee gap between the two episodes.
Aye. Well, the thing is, if you're not a subscriber, it would have just faded into the music, like kind of like the end of the episode music. So, if you've not heard no, it's the same as the start of the episode music. So you'd have heard. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Right, Week of Hibs. News story's been a busy old week. Colin, do you want to kick us off with the first story that caught your eye?
Well, I think without harping on about it, because we did mention it live on Monday night.
Monday.
Was the statement about the cutting away allocations. What's your thoughts on that? Like, do you think we're clearly just talking about Rangers and Celtic, right? Because I think they then leaked it to Sky as the Derby's no in doubt. So it's just Rangers and Celtic, although we've not named them in there. Do you think it's just sour grapes? Or do you think it's do you think it's just listening to fan pressure, or do you think they actually try to do effect change? John?
It's I don't know where to start with this. I think when we recorded on Monday and we were reading out, because we were in the midst of, or Matty was in the midst of reading out the open letter, the letter for Hibs.net to Hibs, and that letter specifically mentioned Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
When the statement came out from Hibs and it was talking about some supporters and it talked about cutting the allocation, they never mentioned who they were cutting the allocation for. And I suggested that I'd really like it if the Derby was, there was like a sort of, I think I say, gentleman's agreements between Hibs and Hearts, but not just like the clubs, but between the fans. Like, let's fucking behave ourselves, nobody chucking anything, because Matty, you mentioned that it's hard enough to get a ticket for Tynecastle as it is. Let's not make that difficult, because it would just be tit for tat. We'll reduce theirs, they'll reduce ours, and it'll just end up in a shit experience for everyone. I never got the impression from Hibs' statement that it was going to affect Celtic as well. And I think the steer since then is it's going to be Rangers and Celtic have a reduced allocation. I thought to myself, well, what is it Celtic have been up to? The thing that the Hibs.net letter specifically referenced was behaviour from the Rangers support stretching back decades. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't remember any. Well, I know that it was like was it the late 80s, early 90s? There was CS Gas at Easter Road.
Yeah.
But there's nothing jumps to the forefront of my mind now with regards to behaviour of Celtic fans. So I wonder why Hibs have taken that decision.
I think what we see for Celtic fans at Easter Road is the overcrowding, the pyro, the excessive pyro. I've never, hand on heart, I'm not being a hypocrite here, I'm never exactly sure what the Celtic fans are singing about. Can they have the...
I didn't care what the Rangers fans are singing about. To be honest, I didn't ken any of the words to any of them.
I kind of ones that you can pick out. And there's a wee bit, actually, we'll come on to talk about some of the concerns for the Block 7 guys last night up in Dingwall on this topic. I'd say there's definitely issues with Celtic fans, different issues, but I think the things like they did it at Motherwell, they're not complaining about a fire exit being blocked or something, but it was because they were trying to storm through it to get into the... If memory serves me right, this is how I remember the story, and apologies if there is a Celtic fan that's listening that's going, "Oh, you're fucking talking shit and misrepresenting the situation." That's how I remember it, seeing it. At the AGM, when this came up, and there was a few questions about it, Ben Kensel grouped the two together. He actually specifically said it's no just Rangers, we need to think it's Celtic as well. He stressed at the time that Ian Gordon was keen to take action and had kind of almost been talked down from doing it. And before saying, kind of, if the shareholders want Hibs to take action, then they'll take action, which is what's happened. Colin, you asked about it being sour grapes, but I think we've been banging on about this for years and years. Like you remember after the cup final when we beat
I
them,
know.
and we were talking about them singing Alan Stubbs, kind of the cheer up Alan Stubbs song.
Yeah.
Um,
I know. I'm just
we-
using that. I'm using their words.
Aye, but I think this is how you counter that argument. We did it when we were beating them under Stubbs or with Lennon, because they were kind of saying the same songs to Neil Lennon. And when we were winning those games, we were still calling them out for it. So I don't think it's just the case as being pissed off that
Yeah.
we've not beaten them for years and we're sick of getting, losing to them at Easter Road. It's not just that. I think we've been fairly consistent with calling it out. And I think what Hibs did with the statement was owned our own issues as well. And that was probably what they had to do to get credibility. So it isn't just sour grapes, and it isn't just like their enough is enough was about all fan behaviour. And we've obviously been in the public eye for objects getting chucked onto the park. It happened again last night.
Yeah.
You've
got to get in there with the what about it though. You've got to beat the what, because they're going to. The answer is always what about it. You can, even if you're not involved in it. If you read Twitter, and Rangers Celtic have been playing at the weekend, they never talk about why the decision wrong in their game. It was always, but that's because you got one like that.
Aye.
It's never anything else. It's always what about it. So Hibs were right with the statement. It was a good statement because they went, and we Kenyans have got to say this. So we're dealing with that.
Yeah.
That didn't stop them chucking the what about it because they actually read the.
They never read it, aye, or they can't read it. Yeah, if you want to go to that line. But I think it should act as a wake up call to Hibs fans, right? And there's a group of Hibs fans, and whether they like it or not, folk associated with Block 7, right? I don't care if it's Block 7 or not. Last night, there were people absolutely adamant on the message boards that they saw folk with Block 7 t-shirts and that, like to single them out as, or identify them as Block 7 members, that through a cup and vapes onto the pitch at the Ross County players. They were singing about orange bastards and things like this, like which you can't hold yourself up and say you can't come to Easter Road and sing all your sectarian shite if we've got a group doing it as well. It needs to stop. Like, grow up. I don't care who needs to hear it, but why the fuck are we singing about that in 2024? And luckily at Hibs, it is like a tiny minority. It's like, you didn't make excuses, boys being boys and all the rest of it, right? But didn't be like, do something different. And what is going to happen is Hibs now have to act on Hibs fans because they put that out. You put the club in an impossible situation where they go, well, we're going to have to shut a section of your stadium because their own fans can't behave. Because we will, because otherwise we just look stupid, eh? Like, you can't go not letting the Rangers fans in because they're singing bad songs, but we'll let our fans do it. It blew my mind, the fact that happened last night after the statement. I reckon what you think about that.
Well, it's the furtherance of the statement, isn't it? Because I think the Hibs were invited to talk about, or were invited by a key SFA committee to Hampden to talk about the potential for strict liability, and Hibs were looking to get more of an understanding of it. And the situation you really want to avoid is, like you say, because I think it's a sliding scale of punishments. It's initially it could be fines, closures of certain parts of the stadium to playing games behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And you just know. I said this actually last week at work before we did put the statement out when I was talking about it, that if they were to introduce that, it would be a team like Hibs that would be the first to get the deductions
100%.
the fines. 100%. We would walk right into it. And that's why there isn't any strict liability now, because the clubs will know that.
I think that it was reported that I think when the 42 clubs were consulted previously, only 3 of them were interested in strict liability. Presumably because the potential punishments far outweigh the BAMs that they have in their support.
Aye.
So just let them keep doing it. and I can almost understand why the clubs would do that, because that's why you have police and stewards there to deal with that sort of situation. But the police and stewards, the stewards at least are getting paid minimum wage. To the best of my knowledge, They're not, or sorry, at least maybe the better way to describe that is they're not highly paid for the shit that they have to put up with in the stadium. They're there for, I don't know, like a tick box exercise for the, whether it's the police or the Scottish Government or health and safety, whoever it happens to be. Like, they're not there in any real capacity. Like, I think
And the
we've all
police
had...
can't do anything about it either, right? There's
I don't
too
think
many.
the police, well, in the away end, I don't think the police are able to do it. And I think that they've just been overawed by the numbers. So when it comes to things like singing about, well, what they were singing about Martin Boyle, you can't arrest an entire stadium. But if you reduce the allocation, you've surely got a greater opportunity to weed out the troublemakers or the small minority. But the same applies with Hibs fans
I
too.
doubt that'll ever happen.
Mm.
Like the police they're just not able to, because you give what football fans are like as well, right? If a policeman goes and talks to an individual in a crowd, there's folk fucking shouting at them and that, like because they think he's got to get lifted or something, so they'll start defending the fan. It almost incites more trouble than it would them doing nothing. It's never going to happen. The police are not going to go and
So
arrest anybody in the
is the
way.
answer then zero allocation for away fans?
Well, that's where it would have to end up, wouldn't it be?
That's where it leads. Or folk just fucking behave.
Yeah.
Well, it's the easiest answer at all. Is just behave. And I was really proud of Hibs for taking action. I'm glad they reacted. I'm glad they addressed their own behaviour as well. And you just hope, like, we didn't give them a reason. Like, our own fans didn't give them a reason to have to take action on our own fans. They would be just idiotic, really, and so avoidable. But Hibs are in a position now that the spotlight's on them. We've put the spotlight on us for all the right reasons, but Hibs now have to stand behind that statement. And if it's us that are doing the wild stuff, then it's us that are going to get the punishment. So, just let's be on my soapbox about it. I just think it's an easy one to avoid. Then they throw things at players and fucking
Aye.
they sing sectarian songs. That's well within everybody's capability. It's not like anybody's being asked to do anything that's difficult. Anyway, right, John, what's next on the news front? What have you got for us?
Mizian Maulida being coy on his future at Hibs. I was reading the day that I think he's had a bit of stick when he was at Hertha Berlin, when he was farmed out to the B side and he was playing in the fourth tier of German football. And then he's come to Hibs and he's enjoying his football, and he was asked, or it was suggested, that it's quite normal for your parent club to be in touch and kind of keep tabs on your progress. And it was kind of like a shrug of the shoulders, like, no, they've not been in touch. But he wasn't committing to a future at Hibs either.